It's time to talk about growth on LinkedIn, especially for company pages. Growing as a company page on LinkedIn is very challenging, but it's important. Your customers, your prospective employees, as a matter of fact, even your current employees will look to your LinkedIn company page for social validation and just to make sure that you are credible. I guess this also applies to startups looking to raise funds. If an investor sees that you have a significant number of followers on your LinkedIn company page that seem real, that's a positive signal that you have figured out something at least. Now, relative to personal profiles, as I mentioned, company pages are somewhat harder. LinkedIn prioritizes giving free impressions to personal brands and personal profiles just because that is what individuals on the network like to follow. We all like to hear from people more so than from companies. Seems less commercial, seems more relatable. So that's why personal profiles get more exposure. And in addition to that, LinkedIn and frankly any other social media platform wants you to pay for impressions as a business. So that being said, how can you potentially gain some traction on social media platforms, not social media platforms in general, but LinkedIn specifically? I have a couple of tips in this video for you that I want to go through now. So first of all, this is the lowest hanging fruit. It's the first posted note on this page that you see on the, I think this is on the left, I'm getting confused a little bit here, which says invite. There is a feature on your company page that admins have access to where you can invite up to 200 of your connections every month. You want to be doing that consistently every single month. And if you want to take that to the next level, the moment someone accepts your invitation, LinkedIn credits you those invitations back and you can keep inviting people. Definitely not all of the 200 people that you try to invite or will be inviting will accept that invite. It's probably somewhere between 10 to 20%, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little less, depending on your level of connection with those relationships that you're sending the invitation to. If you're running out of connections after a couple of months, if your personal network is relatively small, then obviously you need to invest in that too as a business owner or as a startup or whatever your goals are on LinkedIn. And you certainly can invite people to your network, your personal network manually, but you can also use a tool like Wellexy or Alfred that sends out invitations for free to people that are in your target audience. And if you want to level this up one level further, you could pay for one of these solutions because it allows you to connect with more people on a daily basis. And by the end of the month, whether it's free or on a paid plan, you're guaranteed to have the 200 connections that you will be able to invite to follow your company page, which also deepens your relationship with these people. Let me just really quickly show you how the invitation mechanism works. So I think I have a shared screen going on here. I need to switch over to the page. Essentially, this is my company, Zendog Labs. If I switch back to admin view, then this is pretty simple, but if you click on admin tools up here, there is a feature called invite connections. I've already invited people for this month. I have had a couple of people accept it. That's why I'm saying between 10 to 20% will accept these invitations. And then next month, I'm guaranteed to ramp this up again. Now, this page has 568 followers. I would say most of those came through this invitation feature, but I also, drive content into here. So as you can see, you have a couple of people liking mine and sharing my stuff and commenting on stuff. So that is also helpful. And I have used some of the other tactics that I'll be talking about in a few minutes. So let's go back to the overview here. Inviting connections is definitely one of the main features. And if you don't want to use a tool like Wellexy, you ran out of connections on your personal network. What I've also done is used a team, especially if you're, for instance, an enterprise SaaS and you want to get key decision makers to follow your company page. You may want to leverage your head of customer success or your advisory board to invite them as admins to your page and have them invite their network. May need a little bit of convincing, but ultimately we're in business to make business. So I think there are valid reasons for having these key opinion leaders and subject matter experts invite their deeper network than you may have it. So inviting connections is a critical one. The next one is that you want to be posting any kind of job, whether it's freelancers, interns, your next VP, on LinkedIn. It's unbelievable how many people follow company pages when they send out applications. As a matter of fact, this is a little bit unethical potentially, but you could be posting jobs on LinkedIn just to drive traction into your page and get that follower number up. It works magically. I think it's also that LinkedIn has now added a feature in the application process where it says follow the company to stay up to date with regard to updates. I think it's auto toggled on, so most people keep that on, and they don't even manually need to follow you. But before that feature was available, even that was being done massively. So posting a job, definitely the easiest way to get traction for your company page. And then the third one is that you want to experiment with content. Now, if you as a company page that has, let's say, between 50 to 100 followers, but even at the size that I was showing you for Zendog Labs, post plain vanilla content or just basic content, you're wasting your time. You got to get more creative than that. The plain vanilla ones may work with personal brands. It's not going to do anything for your business if you do it for the business, or as just like posting it that way. Now, let's look at a couple of case studies. There are 3 companies that stand out to me. The first one is actually a customer of mine and a partner of mine, I should say, called Funden. So let me switch over to my shared screen here. I'm going to pull up their page. They're essentially an investor matchmaking platform. And if you look at, I think I need to go to posts here. If you look at their posts, they have, well, first of all, they have close to 4K followers. And then their posts get 72, 80, 130 or so likes every single post. And in addition to having product market fit, which is obviously important for people to feel that you have something relevant to say, what they also do very well, I think, is that they post updates like this one where they make a weekly summary of which startups raised capital and then link all of them. That means that these companies have some reason potentially to share the post or to comment on it, to like it minimally, and that should further drive traction for your post. I'm not sure whether that's actually what they're doing. It's what I'm observing from the outside. And then the other one that they're posting and seeing a ton of traction is, in their case, they have a network. They have startups on the one side and then funds, VC funds on the other side. And the startups are very keen to hear about which types of VCs are part of the Funden network. And so whenever they have a fund joining the network, they're posting it on here, they're linking that fund, and startups are going to be all over these types of posts, liking it, getting excited. And quite frankly, I think this is also potentially a great lead generation engine for the company. So when we talk about content here, Funden, that's I think one way of making content work from a company page perspective. You got to link companies, you got to find the right types of content that your specific audience comes to you for anyways, rather than posting randomly or basic content. The next one here that I'm a massive fan of is Refine Labs. The entire team around Chris Walker is fantastic when it comes to demand creation, what he calls it by now. Having started in establishing the term demand generation and dark social, I think is what he calls it. Now, I think Refine Labs as a company page, 35K followers, and well, these are not that good, but let's go back to posts. I hope that some of these posts have a little bit more engagement. Here we see 40, here we see 30. I guess relative to the size of the follower network, you do see that there is, even if you post good content, it's never going to be massively high, the engagement that you get on these posts. Chris Walker, the CEO of Refine Labs, gets a lot more than that. But I think what they do good and what has driven followers is the specific strategy for them rather than the post itself, is having established the community around Refine Labs and Chris Walker. Chris Walker has probably 4 times as many followers on LinkedIn. He posts everything personally. And as you can see, the company doesn't necessarily share these posts that he is posting, which could have been another strategy just to get more visibility and credibility. But obviously he's driving tons of traffic over into the company page. And I think he's also doing a great job at leveraging his entire team. Everyone at Refine Labs, including the chief growth officer, the salespeople, post about the company. And then you click on their profiles, so you see they work at Refine Labs. You follow Refine Labs too. You follow them. It's a virtuous cycle for everyone involved. So here's another perspective on how you can grow your LinkedIn page from a content perspective. The first one was linking posts, linking other companies as for Funden here and just posting meaningful stuff. The second one here is community and getting your team involved to drive traffic through content to your page. And then the third one is Apollo, Obviously, large startup, 36K followers too. What I have seen them do very well is that they use the company page to engage on content of others. So I've seen them comment on posts of others. And I think that is also a great idea. And then they, I think, have applied pretty creative. I'm not sure I can pull up a post right now, but I found them to be posting creative stuff. So that's also cool. I've done something similar over at Locavent, which is an enterprise SaaS company where I managed a social handle for some time. We did get some traction here, even though it's a very targeted and niche space. We used inviting connections. We did use leveraging in the entire team. We did use all of the other things that I mentioned so far. And then Ötzba, which is our family business, is another one that is particularly successful with connection invitations. Now, we can talk about how high the follower numbers are here, but hey, for an SME, that's not a bad place to be and looks much, much better than having 30, 40, 50 followers, which is what probably most company pages have. But obviously, we want to take this to the next level. So let me switch back to my shared screen here. We talked about inviting connections, about posting jobs, and then experimenting with the right type of content without wasting your time. And then I guess one more option that you have is that you could also boost your content artificially, right? That's what LinkedIn wants you as a company page to do anyway. So if you have a little bit of budget, take your best performing posts as a company page, boost them via ad spend, and see whether that drives traffic and followers for you as a business, if that's something you're willing to spend money on, but you don't necessarily have to get started. We have discussed other options here too. And then there are two additional ideas that you can think about. One that I feel somewhat less strongly about, but they're valid potentially, depending on how you're set up as business. One, drive outside traffic. If you have traction on another social media platform and you want to boost your LinkedIn for some time, why not put a link tree or a direct link into your social or into your bio on that other platform and say, hey, follow me on LinkedIn. One person that has done this a lot is, for instance, Alex Ramosi. On every podcast for some time, he was saying, hey, please, I just launched on LinkedIn, would love to connect, sent me an invitation. And I'm sure that his business, acquisition.com, also grew exponentially through that on LinkedIn. And then the second one is buying followers. You got to be careful here. Platforms like UseViral help you get, let's say, the first 100 followers so that it doesn't look entirely ridiculous when you start inviting people that you may not be as familiar with as part of this feature that I've shown you. I think there is a place to use bought followers, but again, very cautious, would only use it to incubate your profile with a couple of initial followers and then just forget about it, because you could buy thousands of followers, but what does it really matter, right? Other than just being a big number. If it gets too big, for instance, as a startup, if your follower number gets too big, there is zero engagements on your post, then, for instance, investors will be recognizing that and will be like, hey, why do you have so many followers, but no one cares about what you're writing? Doesn't look great, makes you seem unethical as a founder, and that's not where you want to be heading. Hope you found this useful. That's it from my side. If you have questions, drop them in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a thumbs up. Definitely cool stuff for me to see. And we're working, and I'm constantly working on new content. So if you want to stay up to date, drop a subscribe with regard to my YouTube channel. Would massively appreciate it, because it also just means support for me as a content creator. All right, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye-bye.